Hi, everyone. It's Heather, the expat entrepreneur, and I'm coming you today with episode number 20 already. And I've got a really special podcast that I want to share with you today. And I'm going to talk to you about something called the Enneagram. And this is a really cool tool. It's one of the personal assessment tools that's available out there. And I've done, I think, most of them because they can be so helpful and so enlightening. And this particular one, the Enneagram, is so good and so rich that I actually decided to become a certified practitioner in it. And I'm just at the point now where I'm doing my case study. And it's been a wonderful and very, very interesting journey. And it's something that I just feel needs a little bit of an explanation because it's so much more than just a personal assessment. So stick with me on this one and let me unpack it for you, and so that you can see if it's something that you think that might be beneficial to you or not. And just as a little bit of background, I've done the Myers Briggs and the Kolbe and a few other ones that are lesser known along the way that have been very interesting and insightful for me, but none have come back with as much depth as this one does, and also with so many helpful tips and suggestions on what to do, positions to take, that it's full in the report, and you get a really big report with this one. It's like 40 pages. And for those of you who are not analytical type, don't worry. You don't have to read all 40 pages if you don't want to, but you certainly can. And there's a ton of helpful information there and resources that give you the direction that you should go, and suggestions so that you can actually take this information. My whole point is, and be able to move forward with it as an individual person without having to have a guided session with somebody, although you can as well. It certainly is possible. There's tons of practitioners out there who that's what they do. In fact, many of them would put together packages that might include, 3 or 4 sessions plus the assessment itself. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. I can find somebody for you who I've met personally and I know does a great job with it. For me personally, that is not the direction that I'm going to go. I wanted it more for an information perspective to have on taking a further step into figuring out the things that make us tick, the tendencies that we have, and how to utilize those, how to identify them, how to find things in our personality and our makeup and our belief system that are beneficial to us realizing the goals and the direction that we want to go in life, as well as the things that don't and that hold us back. And those are probably even more important in so many ways, because there's so much baggage we can all carry with us right from childhood, right? And I've often said before, when I've talked about this kind of a subject before, that so many of the beliefs that we have about the world, about the way things are, and about ourselves are based on experiences and ideas that come from our childhood, when we were in a time that we actually didn't have a fully developed reasoning faculty. You didn't have the ability of life experience, or have the good fortune of life experience and judgment to be able to make conscious choices about what you actually believe as an individual person, as opposed to what beliefs were put on you by the people who were around you when you were raised. And there's no harm, no foul, right? I mean, that's the same for all of us. We're all in that same boat together. The difference is at some point down the road, some of us do and some of us never do. Again, no judgment. Decide to examine some of that. Maybe you suddenly step out and have a different political belief than your family, whereas growing up you always were having the same ideas about who should be in office and which party and that kind of thing. Right? That's a really good example. So it's something that follows through into all areas of our life, right? Not just politics. And it can be so deep-seated. And especially when we're looking at the beliefs we have about ourselves and how we fit in this world, and how we are rewarded and or punished for various things that we do or don't do. And that's really what it boils down to, because these are things that can help to propel us forward or hold us back. And a lot of the training and work that I've done in the past revolves around mistakes and problems that arise, and dealing with that, because that's reality, and we all have that happen to us, right? And I feel personally that it's far more beneficial to have a roadmap of mistakes to avoid and problems to be on the lookout for than it is to try and have a 10 steps to success. Follow my blueprint here. Even though I've put out blueprints like that, don't get me wrong, there's still a good place for that, and for knowing what the model is and what the framework is. But I want to dare say that if it was as easy as following the process that somebody else did that could guarantee you the same results and the same work, then why aren't we duplicating it down to the letter with all the people who have written books, which is another good example. You get a best-selling book on a particular topic, and what happens? You then get another bunch of a whole new lot of authors writing more books on the same topic, right? With the same ideas of these are the steps to get the success if you just follow my plan. And my point is, if it was as simple as that, why doesn't everybody who read those books and who does actually implement those steps, that's a key, why do they not then all automatically see the same level of success? And the truth of the matter is we don't. And the reason for that is because we're all different. Our frame of reference is different. Our experience is different. Our position in life and the environment around us and the things that are happening to and for us, it's all different. And that's why you can't simply just follow a step-by-step process of the exact blueprint that worked for somebody from absolute zero all the way to the skyrocket. You follow those exactly, and you are going to get different results. Maybe, and hopefully you will get some modicum of success. That would be the hope. But it still is a long shot. What you're definitely going to get is the model and the framework, and that's huge. And I don't want to belittle that, because that is a massive component of collapsing time, of speeding things up, of getting somewhere quicker, of finding that end result sooner, rather than having to flail around in all of that ambiguity and not knowing, are you on the right path? Are you doing the right thing? Is this the next step that I should be taking? What am I forgetting? What is the problem that's coming around the corner now at this stage in my business or my life? So knowing that framework is important, and I think that there's a huge place for it. But I think that the more emphasis that we can actually put on being aware of and looking out for and avoiding mistakes, known mistakes and traps, that's going to be a far better thing to focus on, because those are going to be the same for all of us, regardless of your experience, regardless of your position, or whatever the case may be. We're all subject to those same traps. If you're building this particular business, if you're becoming a healthy, you're starting running for the first time in your life, if you are just deciding you're going to suddenly start cooking more meals at home, like the potential problems that are going to come up for you at that stage are the same for anybody in that situation, whereas your road to success is vastly different. So I hope that I've explained that well. That is the reason why I feel that these type of personal assessments can be so valuable and beneficial for us. And this Enneagram is absolutely the king of them all. The 40-page report you get at the end when you do it and complete it is full of introspective ideas and suggestions on exercises that you can take and do that will lead you down the path as an individual, like I say, as opposed to being guided by another person, by a practitioner, so you are given a lot of tools right from the report itself that will help you tremendously. Whereas with so many of the others that I've done, you basically get this report that's a thumbnail of what the reality is, and you're just meant to make sense of it on your own. And well, that can be helpful. There still is a huge, usually quite a big gap between learning about a particular position that you have on something, or something, or getting an insight on a way that you are that you didn't know before, and being able to either use that or alter that to your benefit, right? Because our behavior, wow, I mean, however old you are, that's a lot of years that you've had a certain particular behavior that, yeah, has got you to this point where you are now. So I'd like to give you a couple of suggestions of things that anybody can do that will help in your quest to move through, you know, personal blockages and wanting to achieve your goals, whether they're personal or business or whatever the case may be. And one of those is consciously watching out for the times that you mentally allow yourself to spiral as a result of something that happens in your life, whether it's a comment or an email or a text message or a thought of your own, even, or, you know, you're driving in your car and somebody cuts you off. It could be, you know, little things to huge things. And the whole point of it is, it doesn't matter what that thing is. If it's about to trigger you and send you into some kind of a spiral, we want to endeavor to get ahead of that. And the first step is actually realizing that you've done it, that you've allowed yourself to think that thought, to have that head trash go on, or to feel those feelings of hurt and rejection when somebody judges you or comments negatively on you, or when something happens that's completely unavoidable, like a car cutting you off and you get all, you know, upset, and it gets taken personally. And of course it wasn't personal to you at all, but realizing that you were affected and you allowed yourself to go there is like the first step to changing it and to not having that happen in the future. And eventually the whole point is we're going to try to get in front of that, and we're going to keep working on it and thinking about it, just acknowledging that it's happening. And the next thing you know, it'll be at the end. You'll be, oh, I did that again, or that happened. Then the next time it's going to be in the middle of it, and then it's going to be closer to the beginning of it. And at some point you're going to find yourself going, oh, I've just realized I'm about to go down that path again. I'm about to trash myself out. I'm about to feel all those emotions that are completely unhealthy for me and my body, that are not going to do anybody anything any good at all, for something that happened that was nobody's fault or whatever the case may be. And as you get in front of it and say to yourself, whoa, I'm here I go again. Nope, not this time. I'm not going to go down that path this time. Today, I'm doing something different. And maybe what you want to do is take a couple of deep breaths and just, you know, let it go and move to a new place and mentally. And that brings me to my second tip, which is creating what's called an if this then that statement. And this is particularly effective when you're in this kind of a situation, when you just realize, oh, I'm about to, you know, totally put myself down here for something, whatever. And I don't want to do that, because it doesn't ever do you any good, right? Like, it doesn't do anything any good to do that. So the point of doing the if this then that statement is, the reason why it's so effective is because you're making a decision ahead of time when you're not in the throes of that emotional thing that's happening, right? So because we don't always make the best decisions in those moments, do we? So that's why it's so beneficial. You've got this statement, you know, if I come up against if I'm going to tell myself that I've really done a crappy job and I don't deserve this reward and I'm not good enough to even be doing this, if I catch myself saying those things to myself, then I'm going to do this instead. And what you're going to come up with is going to be something that will work for you. And maybe you'll try something and you'll change it and you'll do something different next time until you find something that's really super effective. But the whole point is that you've got to go to, you've got somewhere to go instead of just falling into it again, right? Because that's just what we do out of habit, and because there's nothing else there that you can grab onto in those moments, because these things happen in like seconds. And so if you catch yourself, really it's when, but if you catch yourself about to do that head trash thing, then I'm going to, maybe you're going to take a deep breath and you're going to say, I'm going to let it go. Or then you could also put action statement in there and say, then I'm going to remind myself of a recent accomplishment that I did, or one of your best things you're most proud of in your life, remind myself of how great I was when I ran that race, or when I made that presentation that I was scared to do, or when I entered my muffins into the cooking fair and I won first place. Like, could be anything. Remind yourself of something great that you did, and then start taking a step toward the thing that you really want to do. So an example might be, let's use making a presentation as an example, because that can send a lot of people into a lot of spirals on a lot of levels. So you're about to make a presentation, in flood these wrong and terrible feelings. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. You're like, oh, I just caught myself. Look at that. No, I'm not going to go there. Instead, I'm going to remember how great I was when I practiced this thing, and what amazing information I have here to share with people that's going to help and change lives, or change somebody's business or something. And you're taking that attention and focus off of you. Deep breath, on you go, boom, you deliver the presentation. By the way, I'll just say, while I'm talking about this or speaking in public or whatever, did you know that physically in our bodies, the feeling of fear presents in exactly the same way as the feeling of excitement? Did you know that? It's the same heart palpitations, maybe you sweat a bit, maybe you're, you get a little tingly, and you're on high alert, and you're like a little bit out of breath, and you're kind of a little bit lightheaded, and whatever it is, however it is for you, it's the same fear and excitement, which is actually great, because this is a brain hack that I can share with you too. When you are feeling that fear of something like that that's happening, you can actually just remind yourself, I'm not actually afraid here. It's okay, body, you can relax. We're not being chased by a bear. I'm just excited. That's why I'm feeling this way. I'm excited. And you tell yourself that, and it will make a massive difference. You'll be like, okay. And then your nervous system can relax, and it's a real thing. Try it if you ever experience that kind of thing. But so do create yourself if this then that statement for those moments when you want to not spiral down into whatever thought process that you normally go to, that's completely not helpful, and even detrimental, because you can get ahead of it and you can do it. So recognizing those moments before you allow yourself to fall into those negative emotions is the first step, and eventually getting in front of them and saying, oh, I'm not going to do that this time. I've just recognized I'm about to have that same old reaction that I've been doing for years, that's been getting me these same old results that I'm not happy with. Maybe it's a trigger with your spouse that this happens, and then you always have an argument, and whatever gets achieved and resolved, maybe nothing, probably nothing. It just is a tension that doesn't need to be there. And when you recognize it and notice, it's like, oh, well, I'm just not going to react this time. I'm not going to let myself go there. Instead, I'm going to let it go, boom, go do this. I'm going to go do 10 jumping jacks. I'm going to grab them by the cheeks and give them a big kiss, like whatever it is. Go send that email, make a phone call, crank a tune, listen to your favorite song, and dance for 3.5 minutes. Go for outside and just stand there and take some deep breaths in. Like, it could be anything like that, just to re-ground yourself and align where you want to go. And I hope it doesn't sound airy-fairy to you. Probably there's a few people it's going to, but trust me, it really, really works. This stuff really, really works. And in the end, isn't that what you want, is a change, right? You want to let go of the negative patterns in your life that are holding you back from achieving the things you want to achieve. And if that's something you really want, it's worth trying anything legal, anything moral, anything good to do that, right? So try it. Be on the lookout for when these things happen. Tune in to what's happening to your body physically. If you can find something, if you can think of something that's actually, and realize, oh, I'm having this kind of a feeling in my stomach right before that happens, or the blood is rushing from your head or from your face, or maybe there's some kind of a weird twitch that happens somewhere in you. Like, if you can actually physically notice what physically is happening, because there will be tells, there will be. that can be a really good thing because it can tip you off before you get further down that road. So watch out for it, get in front of it, have an is if this, then that statement that you can fall back on, because that is a tool. That is a really, really good tool for you that will enable you to move through and past whatever that limiting belief is, because you've made that decision ahead of time when you're not in the middle of all the emotion and you've already decided what you're going to do instead. So when you're on that precipice and you're just like on the verge of trying to think, what can I do instead? It's hard. What are you going to think of in that moment? Probably the old go-to action, right? So if you've got something there and you just do it, you just move in that direction, the whole course and the whole trajectory will change instantly on a dime. It's super, super, super effective. So I hope you find that helpful. And I do want to say as well, for anybody who's listening, if you would like to go ahead and try taking the Enneagram assessment, I'm going to put a link under this podcast for you so that you can click it and get yourself one of them, do the assessment. And I'll just say part of the reason why this is such a good one, they've actually, when you take it, that there's 175 questions that you will answer. And there's actually more than 1,200 questions in the AI. So this thing is dynamic. It is actually delivering specific questions to you based on the answers you just gave. And that's part of the reason why it's so unbelievably effective and precise. Almost everybody who takes it say, I just can't believe how descriptive it was of me and how accurate it was. So it's definitely a good one to do. And it is also like I say, full of great tips and information that you can use on your own, or you can join forces with a practitioner who, if you want to get your hand held a little bit, get a little bit of more direction, because it can be super, super helpful. These people that I've met in this arena, wow, they're amazing. Yeah, so it's a super cool tool. And yeah, on that note, I will wrap this one up because I think I've said just about everything I can on the subject at this point. Feel free to reach out anytime. As always, it's heather@legitebiz.com. If you have not already subscribed to this channel, please smash on that button and subscribe, and go ahead and hit the bell for the notifications as well, so that you can be notified when there is a new podcast that's been put in the can. We've also got an amazing new blog that you can check out if you like. If you are an expat, if you are an entrepreneur, this is for you, because it's the blog is called The Profitable Expat, and it is all about living abroad and having online businesses, online income to fund your expat lifestyle. So there's a lot in there about both, about online business and about like travel and different places that I've lived and gone to, and some interesting stories. So to check it out, have a look and a read, and reach out anytime, as I say. So on that note, I will say bid you a fond farewell for the day and look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye, everybody.